I just want to say welcome and thank you all for joining us. Today we will be hosting an informational session with the Microsoft Philanthropies TEALS team with an overview of their program and how you, as technology professionals, can help support this program by becoming a volunteer. We are joined by a number of the TEALS team, both based out of the New York, San Francisco, and Redmond locations, if I'm correct. Correct me if I'm wrong later, guys. But, so we are looking for volunteers throughout the country for this program. We also have one of their volunteers with us today, Dory Gladney. If I pronounced your name wrong, I didn't have an opportunity to ask, but I hope I got it right. You can correct me as well. This session will run for approximately an hour with time for questions throughout. Again, as I mentioned, if you have questions and they're in the middle of the presentation, do feel free to drop them into the chat. Alternatively, you can wait until we're opening up the floor for Q&A and ask them aloud at that time. We encourage you to ask as many questions as you want, basically. We want to make sure that you feel informed and encourage you to become a part of this program. So definitely, don't hold back. Again, this session is recorded. Once the session completes, we will be uploading it to our Microsoft Reactor YouTube channel. It usually takes about 48 to 72 hours for that to go live on YouTube. But if you miss anything or you want to share this out to other professionals that you know that might be interested in this as well, do feel free to share that link. I will share our YouTube channel with you momentarily in the chat. At the conclusion of the session, I'll also be sharing a feedback survey just in general for our Reactor program, if there's other things that you'd like to see as feature, content, and what have you. At this time, I will open up the floor to the TEALS team. Thank you all again.
Great. Thanks so much, Rebecca. And who did we say is going to share the screen and share the presentation? Giselle, is that you? Perfect. Thank you so much. And I'm requesting control so I can advance without having to say next slide over and over again. So I am really excited to talk to you all. Thank you so much for joining us. I guess it's all afternoon now. This afternoon to talk about TEALS and to find out how you can support. So thank you so much for your interest in supporting computer science education. And all right, Gisela, can you advance the slide then? Oh, I see a little cursor with my face on it. That's new.
I gave you control, Joey. See if
you did?
Can move.
Oh,
yeah.
Great. Thank you so much. Give it a second to think what it's doing. It doesn't seem to be advancing.
Try the down arrow and see if that works. If not, I'll steer.
Okay. There we go. All right, great. So this is the TEALS team that we have joining us today. So I'm Joey Knapp. I am the regional manager for Northern California and Wyoming. I am joined by Raul and Gisela from New York and Adam from the Pacific Northwest. So anyone who is not talking at the moment is more than happy to answer any questions that you have in the chat. So just keep those questions coming. So here is the problem. There are, by a lot of different estimates, thousands, hundreds of thousands of computer science jobs left unfilled. And unfortunately, most US high schools don't teach computer science. And my slide kind of went away. I forget what that last statistic is. There's 47. Oh, yeah. And we have not enough computer science teachers to teach these classes. We have 75 in 2016. 75 folks graduated from education schools with the ability to teach computer science, and that's compared to over 12,000 math teachers. So we're just not there. We're not able to kind of satisfy this demand for computer science in high schools, and that's leading to a shortage in the industry. So that is where TEALS come in. TEALS comes in. So TEALS, as Rebecca said, is a program of Microsoft Philanthropies. It stands for Technology, Education, and Literacy in Schools. And for the past 10 years, we've been helping high schools build sustainable, inclusive computer science pathways in high schools. We do that by finding computer science or finding teachers that want to teach computer science but lack that background, and then we have the volunteers come in and fill in those gaps in their knowledge, in their understanding of material. And this is how a volunteer's impact is multiplied over time, because you're not only supporting and inspiring the student that you're teaching, but you're also teaching that teacher. So even when you stop volunteering, that teacher is still going on and still teaching, you know, thousands of students throughout their career. So it's a huge impact that the volunteers can have over, you know, the next generation of computer science students. Also, a little kind of sad number down there, only 45% of students say that an adult has encouraged them to pursue a career in computer science. So, you know, before I started majoring in computer science, I didn't know a computer scientist myself. So, you know, I would be an example of that. I just didn't know what this field was and what this pathway meant and what it could mean for me. Oh, went too fast. Here are these little dots represent the TEALS schools that we have across the program. So we are in 27 US states as well as British Columbia, Canada. We have supported this past year 12,000 students in 589 computer science classes in 455 schools. Over the past 10 years, we've supported somewhere around 85,000 students. I don't remember if that's a high number or a little bit low number, but somewhere around 85,000 students we have supported through the TEALS program. Getting a little bit more specific with the regions, we have 34 schools in New York, New Jersey. I also want to point out that the 72 volunteers supporting New York and New Jersey come from 44 different companies. So this is a Microsoft program. But you know, this is an industry-wide, industry-supported effort, and we have you know, all of the big tech companies that you've heard of have some volunteers, and many that you've probably never heard of also are giving us some volunteers as well. Specifically in California, we have 166 tech volunteers from 84 companies supporting around 900 students, and that's in 41 computer science classes in 27 schools. And then our last kind of deep dive is for P&W. And we picked these regions just because that's the regional managers that we have here. You know, you saw the numbers across the program. But in P&W, we have 77 schools, 92 classes, and over 300 supporting that effort. Now that we've got the numbers out of the way, I'm going to off to Adam, who is going to tell you a bit more.
Hi, everybody. Thank you, Joey. I'm going to try to request control really quick. Hopefully this will work. All right. Oh, cool. Okay. Perfect. So, you know, as Microsoft's kind of larger commitment to address racial inequalities, TEALS has kind of doubled down and committed to accelerating our outreach to really kind of close the skills gap that Joey was talking about. And we're largely targeting, you know, specific demographics of underrepresented students. So specifically this year, we're really focusing on supporting students that have, or supporting schools that have a large population of Black and African American students. And we're kind of working a lot of different ways to really approach this this skills gap. So one specific way is that we're really accelerating our outreach to schools that have high populations of Black and African American students, and connecting with those school leaders to really, support local kind of computer science opportunities in those schools. We're also partnering with the CSTA, that's the Computer Science Teacher Association, to develop kind of leadership and equitable teaching practices and advocacy that we can share with schools and other communities. Aside from that, we are also asking that every school that we partner with develop and set goals for kind of an action plan towards their own diversity and inclusion outcomes. We're largely kind of focusing on three particular areas. We're focusing on diversity enrollment, diversity in inclusive instruction, and then also developing inclusive learning spaces. So we really want to make sure that everybody feels welcome when they enter the classroom, and it's not just kind of, prioritized for certain demographics or certain groups of people. And so to kind of support this initiative and to kind of support the schools that we're working with on these diversity and inclusion outcomes, we provide kind of proven strategies and resources like our Guide to Inclusive Computer Science, which is a kind of very robust document that was developed with partnerships that we have with kind of leaders in the computer science education space, such as Code.org, NC-WIT, CSTA, and also CS for All. See if this will advance. Oh, cool. And then Joey mentioned that, we have, a large kind of community of, TEALS volunteers. Our community is really kind of what drives our program. We wouldn't exist without volunteers. So Joey mentioned, how kind of TEALS has spread across the whole program, and that's in, United States, and also we partner with schools in BC, Canada. And we really don't want you to feel as a volunteer like you were kind of just sent out on an island. Again, program-wide, we have over 1,500 volunteers from over 650 different companies, again, in the United States and in BC, Canada. We are constantly supporting our whole community throughout the year with things like quarterly meetups. This allows for teachers and the teaching team to connect, share with other team members in your region, brainstorm ideas and best practices. And then we also host an online TEALS forum, which is kind of, an online resource for classroom teachers, volunteers, and others to share kind of helpful resources, advice, and best practices. Okay, I just want to make sure I didn't skip over anything, which looks like I did. So let's go back just to this previous slide. Now, also, kind of as a volunteer, you can make a significant impact on your students. We have lots of statistics since we've been operating over the last 10, 12 years. One of the statistics that I always like to highlight is the fact that 91% of TEALS students said that their volunteers were effective at helping them understand CS. So this is kind of like a great statistic that really testifies to the direct impact that you can have as a TEALS volunteer on your students. And kind of one thing that we don't often, share about is that your students can also have a significant impact on you through volunteering with TEALS and kind of regular being in a classroom. Sometimes for some of you, maybe the first time since you were in school yourself, you can practice and learn skills that you might not otherwise get in an opportunity, in your normal job. So there's kind of a give and take a little bit that you can really grow not only as a volunteer and supporting your students, but also in your own practice as well. All right, and kind of as I mentioned, we have a really supportive, community. We're constantly looking to support our volunteers and teaching teams. We support your growth as a volunteer and make sure that you feel comfortable working in a classroom. Volunteers attend, approximately about 20 hours of in-person summer training on best practices and kind of how to help students be successful. TEALS also sets up volunteers with about 20 hours of e-learning training on curriculum and instruction, so to make sure that you really understand the content and not just kind of thrown into the fire, so to speak. And then also throughout the year, as regional managers, we will go and join the classroom for a few lessons kind of throughout the year, really just kind of do some observations, give you kind of tangible feedback about your kind of ongoing practice and professional development to really help you grow as a volunteer. And then in this graphic, you'll kind of notice that there's these different puzzle pieces that all connect. And this is to kind of show how, the TEALS community is fully intertwined. The TEALS community of teachers, volunteers, teacher staff like myself and Joey and Gisela and Raul that are here are always available through the TEALS forum to directly connect with you if you have any questions, and provide support as you need it. So let's keep moving forward. Okay, and so let's just kind of look a little bit at what a, actually, let me go back one moment. Aha. There we go. Now, one thing that we always like to talk about, especially now during this pandemic that's been going on, is that many of our classrooms have transitioned to remote learning, often for the first time. But luckily, TEALS has been implementing a kind of tried and true remote learning model since 2012. This is really spurred by one of our previous goals of connecting with rural communities, just to give them CS opportunities that they otherwise normally wouldn't have. We've built up many best practices for teaching remotely that we'll kind of pass on to you and the teaching team through our kind of remote specific summer training that we also offer over the summer that you will kind of take with your teaching team, so you can kind of solidify your classroom plan about how to support a class if you are teaching remotely. The nice thing is that remote teaching can give you a lot of flexibility to teach anywhere while you're still supporting your classroom effectively, from a group sessions to also one-on-one instruction. And then last year in the 2020-2021 school year, we had over 1,000 remote volunteers, which is, kind of attests to the challenge and then also kind of the flexibility that we've had in our program. Okay, and now kind of specifically, I want to talk a little bit about, what a kind of typical week as a TEALS volunteer looks like. Depending on the school, the curriculum that the school is running, you can roughly expect to be in class 1 to maybe 3 times a week. And this equates to about 2 to 3 hours of instruction in any given week. An additional 1 to 3 hours is needed to kind of plan lessons, assist your teacher outside of class, support students, do a little bit of grading. We try to be really upfront and kind of acknowledging that volunteering with TEALS is not necessarily a light lift, but there's a lot of components to it. But we really work to accommodate your needs in this lift by offering the class at the beginning of the day. Typically, before you start work, we traditionally try to have all of our classes end by 9:30, so you can volunteer in the morning and then go off to your normal work day. We also share detailed lesson plans with you and your teaching team, so you don't have to be building these things as you go. If you're volunteering at a school that is outside your commute, let's go back. Sorry, Dory. If you're volunteering at a school that's outside your commute, we have our remote learning option that we've been, again, utilizing in our rural schools for many years. This will allow you to remote into the classroom to provide instructions, and you can even support your students in things like breakout rooms. TEALS is a full year commitment, and if you can't teach, a significant amount of time throughout the week, we also have a kind of a teacher assistant role that might be a better fit for you, so you can still support a classroom without, as much of a lift that would take to teach, on a regular basis. And kind of after this, just to give you some context for the courses that we offer through TEALS, we kind of have 4 main curriculum options that we support currently. First, we have our intro class. This is, probably one of our most popular courses, simply because it's, often a school's kind of first venture into offering a computer science class. This is traditionally 1 semester of a block-based programming instruction with Snap, followed by a semester of Python, where they just kind of transition to a different coding language and review some of the same concepts that they learned in the block-based semester. Aside from that, we also offer our AP CSP class. This is largely kind of a survey of computer science topics. It is designed to be an AP course that's accessible to all students, regardless of their CS background or experience. It's less programming intensive, but kind of offers several units of programming with Python. It is, again, more of kind of a survey of computer science. And then second to last, we have our AP CSA. This is a long-standing computer science class, has been available for many years. It's roughly the equivalent of like a first semester college CS class. It's very programming intensive, that focuses largely on programming and object-oriented programming with Java. And then last but not least, our kind of new addition this year is our CS Topics class. This is, again, a new class that's being offered for the first time as kind of an extension on additional topics related to CS and computing. The class is kind of designed to provide an opportunity for students to work on topics that are not usually covered in a typical CS course, but are still relevant to STEM and tech currently. And then from there, I'm going to transition to Gisela and our wonderful volunteer, Dory.
Hey guys, can you hear me? All righty, so now we get to hear from our fabulous volunteer. Dory's been with us a year now, and she's working in New Jersey with Henry Snyder High School. So she gets to share out her wonderful experience, and she can tell you all what it's like to volunteer with TEALS. All right, Dory, you can share your video.
Thank you. So interesting. I had an opportunity to visit the school today for the first time. Up until this month, we've been teaching remotely with the students. So I got a chance to meet some of the students and the actual principal. But with that, a lot of the children were so inspiring with their comments about the TEALS program and how they've learned how to code and, you know, develop problem solving skills. And, you know, now they're going to go into, you know, a computer science program once they graduate from Snyder. I'm going to go back to one of the comments that one of the speaker mentioned about the 45% of the students being introduced to computer science. I was one of those students until I went to college. And this demographic area of students are in the same bucket. Right now, Jersey City has 8 public schools, and only 2 of those schools have the TEALS program, and Snyder is one of them. With that, I do believe that this gives them a platform where they see myself and others as role models, and it sparks an actual change, which inspires them to proceed and pursue a computer science degree. So it's been a quite pleasure and an opportunity to work with these students.
All right, and can you share with us what was that special moment when you realized that you were making a difference?
Well, in teaching the course and them feeling comfortable in the space. So TEALS provide a learning platform where it's an open environment, it's a safe environment, and the students start to become engaged and ask questions is when I knew that we were making an impact, because they were asking questions and they were engaging in the material, and at the same time they were still learning.
This is wonderful. And what do you recommend for anybody who is interested in volunteering, things that they should know before they go in?
I'm really big on data and understanding the market and the demographic of the students. So I was interested specifically in Jersey City because I live in Jersey City. I have a daughter in high school as well. I know the demographic. I know the challenges that these children are facing. And it's people like myself and you can actually like change and drive, be one of the engines to drive that change. So I would say the demographic and the students and some of the challenges that they're facing.
Absolutely. Does anybody have any questions for Dory? Thank you so much for sharing that, Dory. We really appreciate all the hard work that you do.
I have one question for Dory.
Yes.
What was your background that made you first think about taking part in TEALS? Like, why TEALS?
Why TEALS? Okay, so two primarily reasons. So my undergrad was in computer science. Again, I was a part of that 45%. I didn't have a computer until I got to USC. And it was challenging. I was curious, and it gave me some grit. Then my first job was a college hire with IBM. I started as a software developer and I was doing Java, something that wasn't even a part of my dream. But, you know, again, this was like a great opportunity. I started to love technology and I was able to, you know, to proceed. Being with IBM for 15 years, I wanted to kind of get into the whole leadership role. So then I went back to school and I graduated from NYU. And then living in Jersey City and knowing the opportunities and the challenges that these kids have, it's the lack of computer science and not having that exposure is what geared me to volunteer, as well as start my own nonprofit organization, which is Girls Love Tech. So these summer programs is all extracurriculum activity. You know, the kids that lives next door that my daughter goes to school with, I'm hearing that, you know, the learning discussions that they're having, and it's not computer science. It's the things that they're exposed to. So it's programs like TEALS that opens that opportunity for them to be exposed to greater things. So that's why I decided to volunteer for TEALS as well as start my own nonprofit.
Thank you for sharing.
You're welcome. You're muted.
Any other questions? This is wonderful. You are great, Dory. You rock. You make it happen, and we love you.
Thank you.
All right.
Nice, thanks.
So let me go back to my little presentation. And so now I'm going to just ask you, for those of you who are considering joining TEALS and so, or thinking about volunteering, it is without you. It is actually with you. Without you, we couldn't do it. And so you are the solution to the problem of CS in our schools. And so you are the role models. And so you guys make it happen. And so if you are even thinking about it, just consider submitting an application. And so there really is no commitment. And so you can use your skills to improve your community, to help out your schools. And so if you know anyone who could possibly help out, and so is in the field of technology and computer science as well, we would love to have your application and meet you and talk about what you can contribute and help other kids experience computer science in the classroom. All right, questions?
May I add one additional thing that also helped me make the decision, just because my current role is very, you know, demanding, and I have to be present and continue to thrive and be an excellent executive here for my account. It was the flexibility. The school, that's a really, and again, I'm sharing this because time, I always say time is not my friend. Like if I can make up time, that'll be great. But with this program, I didn't feel like I was challenged with dividing my time as being, you know, a program executive and then coming in to teach these kids in the morning. The teachers were flexible. The other volunteers that are part of the program at Snyder were very flexible and supportive, and that made a big difference.
I think everybody needs a little flexibility in their schedules, right? And so
Yes.
we actually require that CS is the first period is definitely in the interest of our volunteers, because we don't want to interrupt your daily schedules. And so first period in the morning, 1 hour max is all we're asking. And so a couple of times a week, so that we can make this happen. Any questions?
I have a question for Dory. This is Amina. I'm a customer engineer here at Microsoft. So I got my interview already done 2 weeks ago. So I'm just waiting for the assignment. But I have a question to Dory. Do the class teacher remains present all the time while you are teaching? Because I mean, we are not trained in handling the children, right? Like a discipline issue or anything like that. So is the class teacher leaves you or she's always there?
She is a super woman. She is there the entire time. And one of the comments that the gentleman made was the volunteers actually teach the teachers how to code. She has taken the initiative in creating assignments, and she's teaching, she's driving, and I'm supporting her now. We're flipping roles. So yes,
Yeah.
she's been present the entire time and just as eager to learn the material and teach the material or learn the material as the kids are.
So when we pick up the school, I think, some of you have a talk with the principal or something, and then there is a buy-in from the principal as well as the teacher, right? That they will they will welcome it. It's not like we are imposing or thrusting this program on them. Just wanted to some background, how it is done.
It's an open, welcoming environment. It's a
I have,
community. Yeah, I'm sorry, go ahead.
yeah, could you, what was your teaching background before this, before your role with TEALS? Because there is summer summer training and work that we do to prepare, but what was your background and how do you, in terms of teaching students computer science, and could you explain a little to the audience who's there the prep work that TEALS does in getting you ready for the classroom?
Okay, so prior to TEALS, I wasn't a teacher or went to a university or had any like formal teaching experience, right? I've always been in the IT industry and worked within the whole technology realm. I took advantage of the 20 hours online training, which was sufficient. It was enough for me to, be able to understand the framework and the different, how they strategize the program. And I used that and went into Snyder, and this is my first year, and I found it to be very effective.
Okay, thank you. Yeah, that's helpful. So I should be, next step is the training, right, for me to go
Training
through.
was
Okay.
excellent, yes.
Okay.
But prior to that, I didn't have any teaching experience.
I have a teaching experience, but teaching to adults, only not to the high school kids or the younger kids. So,
Yeah, we are very clear, when we connect with teaching teams and onboard schools, we want to make sure that they have a legitimate buy-in to the program as well. We don't want to impose or place TEALS in a place where it's not necessarily needed. And so we really kind of work with the teacher going into the whole program to let them know that they're the teaching team leader, although especially if they're new, they might not have a significant background in CS, and that's where the volunteers work their magic. But the teacher, being a certificated educator, is meant to kind of manage all the classroom management, support students, dealing with like kind of any kind of classroom issues or things that pop up. That's not something that we're trying to put on our volunteers. Volunteers are there to learn, to share, support students in an education capacity, whereas the teacher, their role is to kind of support the classroom, manage the classroom, so the volunteers can work their magic. So that's not something that we're going to put on you. We're not going to have you deal with a ton of student issues or things along those lines. That's something we typically reserve for the teacher. So
that's nice to know. Because I already committed myself, but I always this question pops up. So thanks for clarification.
All right. Do we have any more questions? Please feel free to chat or unmute yourself, share your videos.
And also, if you have any additional questions or something kind of pops up a little bit later after we leave today, you can feel free to submit a question or kind of anything you want to share to our contact form. I added the link. It's http aka.ms/TEALS contact. If you go to that site, click on that link, you can submit any questions or anything that might pop up, as well as find the volunteer application and learn more about the program on the TEALS website. Yeah, perfect.
Awesome. Well, thank you all so much. Definitely, if you are joining us for this session today, check out the links that were dropped into the chat. That'll take you to their website, their contact line, and also the application process. There's no harm in filling it out, as they said before, and getting more information. It's definitely a great opportunity, and we're happy to support it here at the Microsoft Reactor. At this time, I'm just going to quickly pop on and run through a couple of my slides as we're winding down, if that's all right with everyone. So if this is your first time joining us, oops, what happened there? Hang on 1 second. There. Let's try that again. There we go. If this is your first time joining us for this particular session, we are an international program with multiple locations around the globe. We run content basically 24/7 just because of these different locations. So if you happen to be joining from somewhere in America, but your work schedule or your life schedule is not the standard for your time zone, do feel free to check out some of our other locations and their event calendars. You can visit us at the, let me just pop over here for a second, at microsoftreactor.com and see our calendar of events. If you came through on Meetup, you can look around at our Meetup locations, maybe that are not your own. If you joined one of them already, you can feel free to sign up to some of the others. We do have some sessions that we are cross-promoting while we are virtual, but other sessions that might just be localized. So no harm in checking it out. Do take the time. We have a monthly Reactor that we newsletter that we send around, aka.ms/Reactor email sign up. That just started a few months back. We just send one email once a month with any sessions located within your time zone. And then I'm going to drop into the chat. This session in particular was an info session. The majority of our sessions are learning workshops, all free and all for the community, open to everyone. So if there is specific content that you'd like to see featured, I'm going to pass the survey link to you into the chat momentarily, and you can just fill it out. Let us know what you want to see next. At this time, I'm just going to pop back over to our screen, stop sharing that there, and circle back to the TEALS team. Thank you all so much for coming on and letting our audience know a little bit more about your program. This was a great session. We're happy to collaborate, as mentioned before, in the future. If anyone in attendance has questions, again, feel free to reach out to them directly, or you can contact one of the Reactor team members through our site as well, and we'll certainly pass the information along. I think if there is anything else at this time, otherwise, let's conclude. Thank you all. Have a good rest of your day. Take care now.
Thank you, everybody.
Thank you.
Thank you for joining.
Thank
Bye.
you.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Bye, folks.
Thanks, Dory.